Hi everybody, welcome to another English class here on verbling.com. My name is Lisa, and in this hour we're going to be doing some reading, and I put the article that we're going to be reading up here in the Verbling chat, and you can click on that link and that will take you to the document where we're going to read the article. If you have a reservation for this class, then you can go ahead and click on the button up there that's counting down 2 minutes. So here on Verbling, how this works, if you're coming to Verbling for the first time and you're wondering what's going on, we have classes in English and Spanish pretty much all day, every day, 24 hours a day, 7 days per week, and you can become a member of Verbling, and when you're a member, you get to take as many classes as you would like. And if you're a member, you can also reserve your spot in a class. So if you see a class with a teacher or a subject or a time that works for you and you want to make sure you get to that class, then you can make a reservation. If you don't make a reservation, then that's okay. You don't need a reservation. If you have a reservation, that means you for sure get in the class, but you do need to use it in the first 2 minutes of the hour. And if you don't, then it goes away, and then you can just join the class. Anybody can join the class. So probably it's going to go away here in about a minute or less. So if you want to join, go ahead and click on the Join Class button, and you can come on in and you can click on the link that's over there in the Verbling chat, and that will take you to the document. So hi guys, welcome. Hi Diana, how are you? Diana, your microphone is muted.
Hi Lisa, how are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm great, thank you. I'm here
Awesome.
at my home.
Great. Is that your cat?
Yes, it's Junior.
Junior, okay.
It's a Persian cat.
Uh-huh, beautiful. Nice.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, well, okay, awesome. And Carvalho, how are you doing?
Hi teacher, I'm doing well. What about you?
I'm doing pretty good, yeah.
Okay.
What time is it for you, Carvalho?
It's 11 o'clock.
Yeah, okay, yeah, it's only
11
5
p.m.
11 p.m., right.
Yeah.
You are ahead of me. I'm only 5 o'clock right now. And Diana, what time is it for you?
It's 8 p.m.
Oh, okay, 8 p.m.
in Colombia, here in Colombia.
In Colombia, yeah. I'm in Washington State on the west coast of the United States, so it's only 5 o'clock p.m. for me.
Ah, okay. And it's snowing now?
Not where I live. No, I live about 2 hours away from Seattle, Seattle,
okay.
Washington. Yeah, and there's probably snow in the mountains. In fact, tomorrow I'm going skiing, so I'm going to see the snow for the first time this year. Yeah.
Me too. We will travel next week.
Awesome.
To North Carolina.
Wow.
Boone. Boone is a little town, a little city in North Carolina.
Oh, yes. What are you going to be doing there?
I think next Saturday.
Wow. And why are you going to Boone?
My husband he went many times.
Oh, okay.
It's a great place. I suppose it's good.
Yeah.
And it's not expensive. It's cheaper.
Okay. That's always nice. Yeah. Well, good. I just put the link up there, the town of Boone. So I don't know about that town, but I have never been to North Carolina. That's across the whole country from where I am. So far away.
Yes, it's far away.
Yeah. Okay, let me say hi. Hi, Sergio. How are you?
Hi, Lisa. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. Yeah, nice picture.
our first time in 2014, right?
Yes, exactly.
2015.
Right.
Oh, Happy
Yeah.
New Year.
Happy New Year. Yeah. Happy New Year. Welcome. Yeah, I don't usually do too many classes at this time because it's my nighttime. So I usually have been doing classes like in my morning time, like 8 or 9 or 10 in the morning. But I picked a couple of these classes this week, so I get to see some people that I don't usually see.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I used to do more of this time period, but my kids go to school and they get home at 3, so usually I like to spend time with them. But sometimes it works out that I pick a few classes up if they're needed on the schedule. So yeah. Okay, so it's good to see different people for sure. Okay, Wellington, how are you, Wellington?
I'm fine, thank you, Lisa. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Thanks.
Yesterday my connection fell down.
Oh yeah, I know. That's they haven't perfected the internet yet. So
Yeah.
we often have trouble with connections and technical difficulties and things like that, but we just do the best we can. Today I
Yeah.
had my internet connection was off for like an hour and I had to run to another place to go have a class.
Oh, oh, bad, bad, very bad.
Yeah, I didn't even know until like 5 minutes before my class.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's get started. We're going to do some reading, and we're going to read this article, which I thought was kind of funny. The title is 7 Phrases You Should Never Say to Someone. So we're going to read it, of course, in English. Maybe you have a similar thing in your language. We'll see if that's the case, and do you think it's something you shouldn't say? So this is where I got it from. It's called Hello Giggles. It comes from a lot of stuff from BuzzFeed and stuff. So this is the main page where I got it, but I like to take it and copy and paste it over here into a Google document so we can read it together and I can highlight some of the vocabulary and stuff. So the way I do this is I read out loud so you guys can listen to me, and unfortunately my voice is still having a little bit of trouble because I had a cold for a couple of weeks and my voice was going and I was talking so much, so it's still a little bit weird. I might cough too, so excuse me if I cough. I'll mute myself if I'm starting to cough. But we can go ahead and get started. Let me just say hi to Heidi. Hi, Heidi. Welcome.
Hello, nice to see you again.
Yeah, Heidi. As I mentioned to you, I think it was yesterday, I like seeing your Hello Kitty on the snowboard because I'm going skiing tomorrow, so I'm looking forward to being in the mountains, in the snow, and do a little bit of skiing. So, okay, well, we'll get started. 7 phrases you should never say to someone. If you can't say something nice, don't say nothing at all. Though I wouldn't normally recommend taking advice from a talking rabbit, Thumper from Disney's Bambi knew what he was talking about when he said this quote back in 1942. So that's what Thumper said right there. That was 70 years ago, in case you needed another reminder that you're getting old. While it's true that people can be childish and obnoxious sometimes, that doesn't make it okay to put them down with derogatory phrases or words. There are some basic phrases in particular which I find off limits in regular conversation, either because they're demeaning, intentionally or unintentionally hurtful, or just plain ridiculous. All right, so let's see. We'll get started. Wellington, why don't you go ahead and get us started? Hi, Ana Paula. Welcome. We're just getting started.
Hi.
Hi, welcome. Okay,
Thank
Wellington. Yeah.
you.
Okay. If you can't say something nice, don't say nothing at all. Though I wouldn't normally recommend taking advice from a talking rabbit. Thumper from Disney's Bambi knew what he was talking about when he said this quote back in 1942. That was 70 years ago, in case you need another reminder that you're getting old. While it's true that people can be, be childish and obnoxious sometimes, that doesn't make it okay to put them down with derogatory phrases or words. There are some basic phrases in particular which I find off limits in regular conversation, either because they're demeaning intentionally or unintentionally hurtful or just plain ridiculous.
Okay. All right. I had to move places in my house because my kids were getting noisy, so hold on a second. All right, so I wrote out here that usually we wouldn't say don't say nothing at all. We would say don't say anything at all. That would be more grammatically correct. But, of course, this is a talking rabbit. In the movie Bambi, I don't know if you guys remember that movie. If you remember Thumper, he was the little rabbit that said that. Okay, so let's see. Some words you might not know. Childish, you probably know that, acting like a child, something that is, you know, kind of immature, we would say, or obnoxious would be kind of irritating or just bothersome to people. When you say things that are obnoxious, people can be obnoxious, they can say things that are obnoxious, that kind of thing. Put down. So to put people down is to, like, insult them. So when you say things to people in a derogatory way or with derogatory phrases or words, that means putting them down, insulting, negative, that kind of thing. That's what she's talking about here. So there are some basic phrases in particular, so especially these ones that she says are off limits for her. Off limits means you don't go there. You don't want to use these words. You can also see off limits, like if a place is like closed and you're not supposed to go there, like maybe a top secret place or something, it's off limits. So nobody's supposed to go there. So you shouldn't use these phrases according to this lady who wrote this article. So when she means in regular conversation, that means like talking to your friends, your coworkers, that kind of stuff. You know, just day-to-day conversation, because they're demeaning. That means they put people down, they insult people, they're not very friendly or very nice or kind words, either intentionally, because you want to put them down, you want to be rude, or maybe even unintentionally. When you don't really mean to, you do it accidentally. But they can be hurtful or just ridiculous. Just plain ridiculous means, you know, just basically ridiculous, which means like unnecessary. You don't need to talk this way. So here are the phrases. Number one is shame on you. Okay, though these three little words may not seem very toxic, especially when you say it jokingly to your friend after she fondles someone she's not supposed to, or to your cat when she leaves you a half-dead present on your doorstep, in reality they can cause a severe amount of damage to a person's self-esteem. According to Thomas Sheff, a professor of sociology at UC Santa Barbara, shame is linked so closely with self-worth that repressing it can lead to acts of aggression and, on a larger scale, war or familicide. That's right, familicide. Next time you're caught stealing a cookie from the cookie jar against your parents' orders, try to laugh off the shame before you end up murdering everyone you've ever loved. No pressure, though. Okay, shame on you. All right, Sergio.
Okay. Shame on you. Though these three little words may not seem very tough, especially when you say it jokingly to your friend after she fondles someone she's not supposed to, or to your cat when she leaves your half-dead present on your doorstep. In reality, they cause a severe amount of damage to a person's self-esteem. According to Thomas Schaff, professor of sociology at UC Santa Barbara, shame is linked to closely with self-worth. That represent it can lead to acts of aggression and or large-scale war of familicide. That's right, familicide. Familicide.
Familicide.
Familicide. Next time you couch stealing a cook from the cook jar against your parents' orders, try to laugh off the shame before you end up murdering everyone you have ever loved. No pressure, though.
Okay. So, just so you guys probably know already, Sergio, I hear a little bit of echo when your microphone is turned on. There you go. Thank you. So this article is written in a very informal way. So she's kind of in a very talkative way is how this is written. So it's not a formal piece. Okay, so shame on you. It may not seem very toxic meaning hurtful or bad for you, especially if you just say it jokingly. So if you say something jokingly to a friend, to your sister, your brother, something like that, to your mom, you're just saying it to make a joke, to have fun, right? And so you might say it jokingly to your friend if she fondles someone. Fondles means to touch. So if she touches or kind of fools around with someone she's not supposed to, maybe somebody who's not her boyfriend or something like that. Or another one, if your cat brings you or leaves you a half-dead present on your doorstep. So your doorstep is right outside, like your front door. So cats sometimes leave presents, we call them, and then maybe like a half-dead mouse, something like that. Their hunt, what they were hunting. But in reality, so even though you might say things jokingly, in reality, this idea of shame can cause a severe amount of damage. Severe means significant, a lot of damage to somebody's self-esteem, how you feel about yourself, if you feel like you're worthy and a good person. According to this professor, shame is linked closely with, so the phrasal verb is to be linked with self-worth. You know, how you feel about yourself, if you feel like you are valuable or something. And if you repress this, if you repress your shame is when you feel badly about doing something. Like maybe the example here is you steal a cookie and you go, oh my gosh, I shouldn't have done that, I'm such a bad person. And if you repress that feeling, you put it down, you don't talk about it or express it and get over it, then later on in life it could lead to acts of aggression. Aggression is like violence. Especially this could be on a larger scale, like in war, feeling ashamed and then leading to war, or familicide, which means killing members of your family. So we have the word like suicide means to kill yourself. Infanticide means to kill babies, and familicide is when people kill their own family members. So this is kind of the joking, informal way. So if you ever caught stealing a cookie, so maybe somebody saw you, they catch you taking a cookie from the cookie jar against your parents' orders, so your parents told you not to do that, she says just try to laugh off the shame. Don't take it too seriously, because you don't want to end up murdering everyone in your family from repressed shame. All right, so that's kind of a joke there. But just to make sure you don't say that to other people, just try to shame other people and make them feel bad. Shame on you. Sometimes you hear parents saying that to children when they do something they're not supposed to do. Okay, number 2, grow up. This one's my own personal pet peeve for a number of reasons, but first and foremost because the negative connotations attached to grow up suggest that maintaining one's youth is more than just silly. It's shameful. While I understand the phrase is used to condemn immaturity, which can be different from youthfulness, that doesn't change the fact that the person using this phrase does so to gain the upper hand in the conversation. By saying, grow up, you are suggesting that you are grown up yourself and thus more qualified to judge the situation at hand. You're essentially demoting the other person to an inferior, younger position, despite the fact that kids are cooler than adults around 70% of the time, which is still passing. Okay, Heidi.
Yes, grow up. This was my own personal pet peeve for a number of reasons, but first and foremost, because the negative connotation attached to grow up suggests that maintaining one's youth is more than just silly. It's shameful. While I understand the phrase is used to condemn immaturity, which can be different from youthfulness, that doesn't change the fact that the person using this phrase does so to gain the upper hand in the conversation. By saying grow up, you are suggesting that you are grown up yourself and thus more qualified to judge the situation at hand. You are essentially demoting the other person to an inferior, younger position, despite the fact that kids are cooler than adults around 70% of the time.
Okay, good. Okay, so to have a pet peeve, a personal pet peeve, it means this is something that bothers you. So, you know, if you have a pet peeve about people chewing with their mouth open, it just bothers you. It's kind of like a special thing that maybe it doesn't bother other people, but it bothers you especially. So it's your pet peeve. That's what it means. And so she says this is her pet peeve, this idea of telling somebody to grow up. One of the reasons is because it has a negative connotations of it. So a negative connotation is like it means something negative. When you say it to somebody, it's not usually said in a positive way. So when you tell somebody to grow up, what you're doing is you're suggesting that maintaining one's youth, okay, so being young still is not just silly or crazy, it's actually shameful. Like it's not okay to be a young person or to act in a young way. So you're making somebody feel badly about that. The phrase is used to condemn immaturity. So immaturity is not mature. So if somebody, an adult, for example, or an older teenager maybe, is doing something that's very silly or not appropriate to their age, you're trying to tell them to act your age, act like an adult, and so you're condemning. You're saying don't do that. Don't be so immature. That's kind of the idea, which can be different from talking about youthfulness. But she says that doesn't change the fact that the person who's using this phrase "grow up," they're doing so to gain the upper hand in the conversation. So you're talking to somebody, and then somebody says, "Just grow up." That they're trying to be like more mature than you. To gain the upper hand means they're winning, like in the conversation. They're better than you are. So if you say grow up, you are suggesting that you are grown up. If you tell somebody, you're suggesting that you're more grown up than they are, and that therefore you are qualified to judge the situation at hand, whatever's going on right now. So you're basically putting that person down, demoting that other person, and making them seem inferior or less than you are. And this is the kind of funny part right here. Despite the fact that kids are cooler than adults. Cooler meaning they're like neater, better, funnier, about 70% of the time, and 70% is a passing grade. So here in the United States we have A, B, C grades, stuff like that, and 70 is a passing grade. So most of the time kids are cooler than adults anyway. All right, 3. If you really loved me, you would. Stop right there. While it's true that love is one of life's greatest gifts, there are always limits to what people will do for it. Even Meatloaf knows that. When you challenge someone with this phrase, you're asking them to demonstrate their love according to your terms. Jesus didn't have to prove himself to anyone to gain respect, so neither should you. Well, I mean, he eventually did with his whole turning water into wine stunt, but he didn't have to. Okay, Diana, number 3 there.
Okay. If you really love me, you would. Stop right there. While it's true that love is one of life's greatest gifts, there are always limits to what people will do for it. Even Meatloaf knows that. When you challenge someone with this phrase, you're asking them to demonstrate their love according to your terms. Jesus didn't have to prove himself to anyone to gain respect, so neither should you. Well, I mean, he eventually did with this whole
His whole, yeah.
whole turning water into wine stunt, but he didn't have to.
Right. Okay, so don't tell anybody this. If you really loved me, you would. All right, so she's telling you, stop right there. Don't go any further. So she's explaining that, it is true that love is a gift, one of our greatest gifts, but there are limits. People can only go so far of what people will do for love. This is something, I don't know what she's talking about. You would have to click here and watch this YouTube video. Meatloaf is a singer, so maybe he only went so far for somebody that he loved. But basically, you are challenging somebody. So you're trying to say, well, if you really did love me, you would do this. And so you're trying to ask them to demonstrate or to show their love, but it's according to your terms. So based on what you think love is and what a person should do if they really love you. And this is where she's kind of trying to be funny. Jesus didn't have to prove himself. He didn't have to prove his love to people to gain respect, to get or to receive respect from other people. And you shouldn't either, or neither should you. So you shouldn't have to do that to prove that you love somebody. And then she says, well, he eventually did prove it, and he, the whole stunt of turning water into wine. So a stunt is like a trick. So, but he didn't have to, she says. He didn't really have to do that. All right, number 4, because I said so. If I woke up with 100 fingers on each hand, with 100 fingers on each of those fingers, I would still not be able to count the amount of times I heard this when I was growing up. In fact, it's most parents' go-to reprimand when a child starts questioning their orders. But according to some, it's also the least effective. Following a command with "because I said so" instead of an actual reason can tip the scales of a parent-child relationship, turning the parent into a ruler demanding unquestionable power instead of an ally trying to impart a valuable lesson and establish respect. Unless your child has disregarded all 20 reasons you gave to not stick his action figure in the blender, try to avoid this exclamatory statement. Because I said so. Okay, Wellington.
Okay, let's go. If I wake up with you, if I wake up with 100 fingers on each hand, with 100 fingers. Oh, sorry, I was reading the magazine. Let's go. If I wake up, yeah, it's 2 times. If I wake up, is right.
Oh, I see.
Is Rose there?
Yeah.
If I wake up with 100 fingers on which hand? Oh, with 100 fingers on which of those fingers?
She's saying it.
Yeah.
Yeah, more and more. More and more fingers.
Yeah. I would still not able to count the amount of times I heard this when I was growing up. In fact, it's most parents go through kryptonite when a child starts questioning their orders, but according to some, it's also the least effective following a command with "because I said so." Instead of an actual reason, can type these scales of a parent-child relationship, turning the parent into a ruler demanding unquestionable power instead of an ally trying to impart a valuable lesson and establish respect. Unless your child has disregarded all 20 reasons you gave to not stick his action figure in the blender, try to avoid this exclamatory statement.
Okay, good. Okay, so because I said so, yeah, this was a little confusing because she was trying to make a point. Like, you know, if she woke up like yesterday or tomorrow, let's say, and she has 100 fingers, and then even more, it still wouldn't be enough fingers to count all the times that she heard this phrase from her parents, probably, or from other parents, when she was growing up. So when she was a child growing up. In fact, she says it's most parents go to reprimand. So a go to something means that's the thing you automatically do. This is my go-to response or my go-to whatever. It's the thing you do all the time when you just do it automatically. So parents automatically often say, because I said so, when they're reprimanding. So when you reprimand a child, you're telling them something that they're not supposed to be doing. That's the idea of a reprimand. You're disciplining them. And so if a child starts questioning, you know, why? Why do I have to do that? Why? Why can't I do this? You know, that's what their orders are said, because I said so. You can't do that because I said so. That's the reason. But apparently it's the least effective. It's not very effective. It doesn't work very well. So it's a command, you know, do this because I said so. And so if you just give a command instead of an actual reason, you know, you can't do that because da-da-da-da-da, this can tip the scale. So think of the idea of a scale with weights on both sides of the scale. And tipping means one side is getting heavier and the other one's lighter, and so it's going to tip the scales of the parent-child relationship. So it's going to turn the parent into like a ruler, like a dictator, and demanding unquestionable power. So the child just has to do it because the parent said so, instead of showing that the parent is an ally. An ally is somebody who works with you together. You're cooperating, and you're trying to impart a lesson, a valuable lesson, or to teach your child a valuable lesson. You just are giving orders, and you're not trying to establish respect if that's all you say, because I said so. So she says, unless your child, so if your child has disregarded, that means hasn't listened to any of the reasons that you gave to not stick or to not put his toy, an action figure, in the blender. The blender is what you use to mix things, blend things up. Not a good place to put toys. Then just try to avoid. To avoid means to not use. So don't use this exclamatory statement. So an exclamatory statement is one that you kind of yell, and that's why we put the exclamation point like that, because I said so. So try to avoid saying that, is what she says. Okay, number 5. Why can't you be more like ... Why don't you go to college like your older sister? Why don't you get a job like your brother? Why don't you try raising a flock of wild bald eagles like your cousin Jimmy did? It's natural to want to draw comparisons between your children and other people. But doing so can also establish unfair precedents for the child in question. If children are always being compared to an older sibling or relative, they never have the chance to explore their own strengths and can end up making rash decisions to differentiate themselves later on, like joining the circus or pursuing a career as a professional Marilyn Manson impersonator. Okay, Sergio?
Okay. Why can't you be more like? Why don't you go to the college like your older sister? Why don't you get a job like your brother? Why don't you try raising a flock of bald eagle like your cousin Jim did. It's natural to want to draw comparisons between your children and other people. By doing so, can also establish unfair precedents for the child in question. If children are always being compared to to an older sibling or relative, they never have the chance to explore their own strengths and can end up making rash decisions to differentiate themselves later on, like joining the circles or pursuing a career as a professional Mary Manson impersonator.
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 Okay, so this is the idea of comparing people. So why don't you go to college like your older sister? Why don't you get a job like your brother? Why don't you, this is the silly one, try raising a flock of, so like a flock is a bunch of wild bald eagles, so nobody does that, like your cousin Jimmy did. All right, so it's natural to want to draw comparisons or to make comparisons, and we make comparisons between two different things. So maybe your child and his brother or sister or other people, something like that. But if you do that, so doing so can also establish, which means to kind of like create unfair precedents. So a precedent is something that you do for like the first time. So if you start making comparisons, it's really not very fair to the child. It says if children are always being compared to an older sibling is like your older brother or your older sister, for example, but sibling just means brother or sister. It could be younger, or relative, cousins, aunts, uncles, things like that. They're never going to have a chance to explore, to try to figure out what are their own strengths, what can they do, what are their talents, that kind of thing. And that person may or can end up means like as a result of this, they might make rash decisions. So a rash decision is a decision you make kind of in a hurry without really thinking about it, just to do something, like in this case, differentiate, to make yourself seem different than your brother or your sister or your cousin or something. And so you don't really think about it, you just want to do something, and because you don't want to be compared to anybody. You don't want to be like anybody else. And so an example would be like go and joining the circus, running away, joining the circus, something like that, or pursuing a career that is very unlikely. So being an impersonator means you're going to pretend that you're Marilyn Manson, which is a singer-performer. Okay, number 6. You were too good for so-and-so. This phrase is almost always said in an attempt to be comforting, but down the line, it can end up having embarrassing consequences. For example, if you say this to your best friend after she gets dumped by her boyfriend, and a few days later they get back together, she'll forever know that you disapprove of her significant other, and your future obligatory maid of honor speech will suddenly become a whole lot trickier. Okay, Diana.
Okay, you were too good for so-and-so. This phrase is almost always said in an attempt to be comforting, but down the line, it can end up having embarrassing consequences. For example, if you say this for your best friend after she gets dumped by her boyfriend, and a few days later they get back together, she'll forever know that you disapprove of her. Perdí. Sorry.
Significant.
I'm sorry.
I just moved it up there.
Okay. She'll forever know that you disapprove of her significant other, and your future obligatory maid of honor speech will suddenly become a whole lot trickier.
Okay. All right, so you were too good for so-and-so. So so-and-so just means, we say that when we don't want to say the name, like whoever. Like, you were too good for him, or Bobby, or Danny, or somebody like that. Or for her, something like that. So this phrase, it's almost always said in an attempt. So when you're trying to be comforting to somebody, like your boyfriend and a girlfriend, they break up, it's your friend, and you just said, oh, he wasn't really good for you, or you were too good for him, something like that. So you try to comfort somebody, but down the line means like in the future. So down the line, in a little bit of time in the future, it can end up having embarrassing consequences. So a consequence is a result. So you say this to somebody, and maybe you can end up being embarrassed for saying it. And she gives an example. If you say this to your best friend after she gets dumped by her boyfriend. So if she gets dumped, that means her boyfriend dumped her, which means he left her. Maybe he wants to break up with her. So to get dumped by somebody means that person breaks up with you, and so you're no longer in a relationship. But sometimes people, they get dumped or they dump somebody, but then they get back together. So that means they become a couple again. They become boyfriend and girlfriend again. Then, after you already said all this, she'll forever know that you disapprove. We disapprove of things, so pay attention to the preposition there. You means you don't approve. You don't like her significant other. So your significant other is your couple, your partners, your boyfriend, your girlfriend. We use that word significant other. They're important to you. And so your future obligatory, which means something you have to do. So here in the United States, if you're the maid of honor, that means you're the bride's kind of like best friend, and you give a speech. It's going to become a lot trickier or a lot harder for you to give a speech if you don't think that her boyfriend is really good for her. Just calm down is another well-meaning phrase that can produce a negative reaction when used the wrong way, aka any way that makes it come off as condescending. If possible, avoid saying this phrase to angry parents, the Hulk, people binge-watching dramatic TV shows, and women going into labor. In fact, that covers most human beings on the planet, so it might be easier to just not say it at all. Okay, Wellington.
Okay. Just calm down. Just calm down is another well-meaning phrase that can produce a negative reaction when used the wrong way, aka any way that makes it come off as condescending. If possible, avoid saying this phrase to angry parents, people with anxiety, the hook, people binge watching
Calm down.
dramatic. Sorry. Okay. The rookie, people binge watching dramatic TV shows, and women going into labor. In fact, that covers most human beings on the planet. So it might be easier to just not say it at all. While some
Yeah.
okay.
Well, stop there. Hold on. Let's give Sergio something to read too. Okay, so just calm down. All right, so it's another well-meaning phrase. So, you say it like you want to help the person. Just calm down. You want them to feel better or something. So it's well-meaning. Your purpose or your reason for saying it might be a good reason. You're trying to help them, but it actually can produce, or, you get a negative reaction. Somebody might say, don't tell me to calm down, something like that. So it might be used in the wrong way. AKA mean also known as, any way that makes it come off as. So if something comes off as, it means it sounds like. So if it sounds condescending, when something sounds condescending, it sounds like you know better than the other person. You're trying to be like their parent or like the boss or something. You're a better person than them. That's condescending. So you don't want to make it sound condescending, like just calm down, like you're losing it. You know, you gotta get it together here, that kind of idea. So, if possible, avoid, which means, you know, try not to say this phrase to, and she gives you some funny things. Angry parents, who, you know, people who are getting upset with their kids and you're telling them, just calm down, you know, they're probably not going to. People with anxiety, the Hulk, you probably know who the Hulk is. And people binge watching. Binge watching means like you go and you sit down and you watch like 5 episodes at one time. That's called a binge watching. You can also have binge drinking, when you go and you drink a lot of alcohol all at once. But we have binge watching now because people can watch like the whole season of a TV show in one afternoon or one weekend or something like that. Or women going into labor. So when you go into labor, that's when you're going to have a baby. So probably don't want to tell the lady to calm down when she's starting to have her baby, because that's she's having her own pain there. All right, so that covers. So to cover means that includes most people on the planet. So maybe you should just not say it at all. So just don't say just calm down to anybody. All right, well, some of these phrases can certainly be acceptable in certain situations. Most of the time, they should be kept to yourself to avoid hurting someone's feelings. What phrases would you add to the list? Do you disagree with any of my picks? Okay, Sergio.
While some of these phrases can certainly be acceptable in certain situations, most of the time they should be kept to yourself to avoid hurting someone's feelings. What phrase would you add to the list? Do you disagree with any of my picks?
Okay, so certainly, whenever we say certainly, like, yeah, sure, it's possible that these could be acceptable, like okay to say in certain or in specific situations, sometimes, but most of the time, so that means, you know, pretty much all the time, they should be kept to yourself. So you might want to say them, you might say it in your mind, but you keep it to yourself. You don't say it out loud. That's the idea of keeping something to yourself, is you don't tell somebody else. You just think about it in your mind, but you don't want to hurt someone's feelings. So you don't want to make them feel badly. So any phrases that you would add to the list? Maybe there's some other phrases that people shouldn't tell other people, and maybe we might disagree. So that means to not agree with her picks. So these are the ones that she picked. So this is the noun, my picks. All right, let me just give Diane a little bit more here to read. So the person who wrote this, her name is Tyler Vendetti. Tyler lives in a not-so-tiny suburb outside of Boston and is currently studying the power of words at Wheaton College. She enjoys stalking the aisles of Barnes & Noble, burning non-flammable foods, and referencing TV shows that nobody likes anymore. She also speaks in the third person and occasionally updates her Twitter and blog. Okay, Diana. Can finish up that?
Tyler Vendetti. Tyler lives in a not-so-tiny suburb outside of Boston and is currently studying the power of words at Wheaton College. He enjoys stalking the aisles of Barnes and Noble, burning non-flammable foods, and referencing TV shows that nobody likes anymore. She also speaks in the third person and occasionally updates her Twitter.
Yeah. Okay, so she wrote this about herself. That's what it means to talk in the third person. So you say she does this instead of I. That would be the first person. Okay, good. All right, so the not-so-tiny suburb. A suburb is outside of the city. So a suburb is where people live, but it's not inside the city. So she lives outside of Boston. Not so tiny means it's probably very big, a big suburb. And currently she's studying the power of words, so she's a college student. She enjoys stalking. Stalking means going up and down the aisles, the rows between the books. So Barnes and Noble is a bookstore. So she likes to go looking for books. And apparently she's not a very good cook because she's burning her food, the non-flammable, the stuff you're not supposed to be burning. And she likes to reference or to refer to or talk about old TV shows that nobody likes anymore. And so that's just kind of a funny way to talk about herself. Okay, what do you guys think about this? What any of these phrases that you've heard in your own language or something similar? Like, do parents say, shame on you to kids, for example? Diana, do you remember any of these phrases?
Yes, 2 or 3.
Yeah?
Yes, the third
Like
the third one.
The third one? Okay.
Me, it's normal.
That's like
On the
every
TV,
song.
the live, yes, it's normal.
Yeah.
I think everybody in one, I mean, at least once it's possible that I don't know how can I say everybody use this phrase at least once.
Once in their life?
Yes.
Yeah, probably.
Yes, and another I think just calm down. It's terrible phrase.
Yeah.
It's terrible for me.
Yeah.
At work, in my home, it's a big phrase.
Yeah, cálmate.
Yes. It's easy to say, but
Yeah.
it's difficult.
You're right. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny because the other person wants you to calm down, but when you can't calm down, you don't want them to tell you to calm down.
Yes.
Even if you want to calm down, you just don't want to be told, be quiet, leave me alone.
But we can't.
Yeah, it's hard. Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
It's hard to just calm down. You can't do it automatically, you know,
Yes.
if you're
No.
upset or something. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Sergio, what about you? Did your mom ever say, or your dad, because I said so, or something like that in Portuguese?
Well, I think it relate to this phrase because I said so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have heard this like a long time ago from my parents. Like, why this? Because I said so.
Right. Right.
Okay. And my mind, I was asking, I wondering, but why?
Yeah,
Just
exactly.
like, no, I don't know. I heard, I learned a phrase in Spanish today. It's haz lo que digo, no lo haz, no lo, haz lo que digo, no lo que hago. There's something like in English. And,
yeah, do as I say, not as I do. Yeah.
Yeah, and okay, because I said so. Okay.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
But that's really interesting because she said, depend on the moment. You can use this like like this phrase, please calm down.
Yeah.
In something like okay, I have something new to tell you, and you are so excited and
calm down,
maybe works, but
yeah.
on the other hand, like you are talking now, like you are angry and you stay. I'm gonna say calm down. No, this is like put gas.
Yeah.
Fire.
On the fire. Yeah, exactly. That's a good point. Yeah, it might work if somebody's excited, and you want to tell them something and you want them to just be quiet for a minute so you can tell them, but it doesn't work if they're angry or upset or something. Yeah. Yeah. What about, let's see, did you ever have this one, Sergio? Did anybody ever tell you, why can't you be more like so-and-so? That's a really harsh one for some people.
I don't know, but I had used this
Yeah.
Like, like compare. Like
Uh-huh.
a girlfriend that I had some time
Yeah.
ago, and I was like, why you can't be like your, like your sister? Or worse, you compare like my older
Right.
girlfriend, and this is
Yeah.
like, oh, the end of the world.
That's the end of that. Right. Especially don't say, why can't you be more like my other girlfriend?
Yeah, that's it.
Go
Never
back to
mind.
her.
Compare.
Yeah. Wellington, what about you? Have you ever heard these or used these? I don't know. I'm wondering, Wellington, in Brazil, would somebody tell another person to grow up? Is that something that you say in Portuguese?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Sometimes, yeah. When there are fool, so- someone that made jokes in a time, in a wrong time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Grow up is cresça
Yes.
e apareça. Grow up and show. Grow up and show.
Oh, okay. Like show
Yes,
yourself.
cresça e
Cresça
apareça.
e apareça.
Grow up, grow up, grow up and show.
Aha.
And show up, and show up.
And show up, yeah.
Yeah, because sometimes, yeah, two full persons.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And there are others that it was said that is normal. We use it, sometimes we use it. Of course, it's not in normal situations, but just calm down.
Yeah.
Sometimes there are situations not never to my boss, of course.
Yeah, yeah.
Never to my boss.
Yeah.
We only think. and and of course if to other people, but um, I, I was thinking about because I said so.
Uh-huh.
I think this is not acceptable today
Mm. Mm.
because mainly the children
Yeah.
they want to know the reason, and I
Yes.
think it's better. It's better. The time is changed, so I think now it's better to explain why. But unfortunately, the parents don't have time. Don't yes,
To
they
explain.
don't find the time to explain to,
Yeah.
but it's necessary
Mm.
more than other times now.
Right.
Time to teach the
Yeah, I
children.
think so. Yeah. That would be true here in the United States too. Like before people, children would just, okay, be quiet, do what your dad said or what your mom said, but now the children, they don't accept it. Why? But
Mhm.
why? I know, but
They need
why?
reason.
Yeah.
Yes.
But why can't I go there? Why can't I play that? Why can't I eat that?
Yeah,
Yes.
because I think we need change it because the time is
Mm,
change every second, every
mhm.
minute. Happen new things. The children uh, then they have access to
Mhm.
different behaviors.
Mhm.
So only talk because I said so. I
Yeah.
think is not acceptable.
I'm going to share an expression with you guys. Uh, it goes along the lines of grow up. Sometimes, if you want to like put somebody down, you'll say act your age, not your shoe size. And I'm
If
thinking this only works in the United States because, like in Europe, they have larger shoe sizes like 37, 38. But here in the United States, we have like an adult woman might have a size 7 or an 8, and a man might have like a 10 or 12. And so, act your age. Act, 30, not 12 or something like that. So that's another way to say grow up. So
Interesting, interesting.
It's a funny way to say it. Yeah, act your age, not your shoe size.
Yeah. Here is not like in Europe. The numbers is 31, 2, 3, 7, 38.
Oh, yeah. It doesn't work so well.
In this case, grow up and show up.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, guys. Well, our time is up, so thanks for coming. I hope you guys learned some new expressions here and some vocabulary. It's fun to read something, a little informal. It's not a news article or something like that. So this is the way people write, So it's fun to read something different. Thanks for coming. Have a good evening.
Lisa, thank you.
Lisa.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Bye, everybody.
Can you share the doc?
The document, yeah. The document's here, and the link to the actual website is on the bottom of the document.
Ótimo, thank you.
Okay, take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.